Yes, thank you for joining us yet again. Smart 24 TV, and this is SMB.
And definitely when we say this is SMB, smart means business. Be the first to know the latest updates as they do happen across the town and across the country, plus what is happening across the world when it comes to business information. We keep you up to speed and updated with all that, from expert analysis down to the latest updates and interviews exclusively here on Smart 24 TV. Let's continue driving your business. Well, besides that, let's look at the agricultural sector. As KHEA and Pelham on Sunday, the 13th of February, made a campaign on sensitizing farmers on organic agriculture through the KHEA Farmers Caravan on the theme, sharing organic agriculture knowledge and experience. Let's have the details.
But we really value what we want to see more than probably what we can say we have injected in, because some of the investment in this might not be quantifiable. You do not know how much people have, adjusted their programs for this to happen. So you cannot quantify that, for example. So it is very important to see what value are we creating as opposed to how much have you put in. It might not be very relevant. And then the other thing is, what is unique? I remember you asked that question. What is unique that we are bringing on board? The Hunger Project has done this. I don't think the Hunger Project has done exactly what we are doing. And so for me, I see that there's a lot of new lessons to learn, something new to see, something new to experience. And I think another person asked the same question. Yes, we have done caravans before in different projects. And I think when we see the value of the caravan, that's why we say, hey, we can do it again and again and again, because we see it helps farmers to learn from each other, to understand that is actually possible. I think the gentleman from the East African Watch asked the question of market. Farmers have what to sell, but they don't know how to do it. They actually don't know how to get the market. And when we go into this kind of activity, it helps the farmers know how to market what they have. So this is the real essence of the caravan, not just for the sake of getting farmers here and go there for the sake of touring, but they have reasons and they have very important benefits they can pick from the caravan, including getting market for what they produce. Thank you very much.
Yes, I would like to add on what Mr. Francis has highlighted to answer the question of market. During the caravan, we are going to be conducting the Meet Africa's Farmers campaign. Sorry. So during the caravan, we are going to be conducting the Meet Africa's Farmers campaign. This campaign, basically what we are doing is to gather voices from different farmers to understand from the project which organic farming practices have they adopted and have they been successful, and anyway, if they require any support, how best can the project support them. But besides bringing out the support issue, we want to find out which markets are their products being sold to. So yes, we are handling the caravan, but within the caravan we have a campaign. Though it's a bit silent, it will be tackling some of those issues in line with linking farmers to the right markets. The other question that was raised, what are the expected results from the caravan?
Well, like I said, like I said, the caravan, what we expect out of it is one, we are building capacity. So we shall have farmers capacity built in areas of organic agriculture. But also, like they've highlighted, some of the farms we are visiting do marketing of, they export actually these products. So one, they will have contacts of, such farms where probably they can, farm and then sell to these farms for export. But then also we are saying we are building capacity of the farmers in the areas of organic agriculture, and also the networking part of it. Of course, networking is like someone was asking, we've not talked about the markets. The markets are in there because one, the fact that when you get these exposures to the different farms, and we are very sensitive on which farms we are highlighting, we are bringing on board for the farmers to benefit from. Those many of them were farms that are doing commercial organic products. So I believe at the end of the day, the farmers will benefit in terms of know where to sell what at which farm. Yeah, and then of course the networking there. Yes.
Maybe I can answer that. One, as a seasoned journalist, you know that we don't yet have a law that is regulating the use of GMOs in Uganda. So officially there are no GMOs on farmers in farmers' fields in Uganda. The GMOs they are still at research stage, and the bill is still being discussed in Parliament. You're all aware of the processes. So we are not doing this as a reactionary approach due to the increase in GMOs, because GMOs are not yet around. Why we are doing this is because we believe, just like the government of Uganda, and I'll tie this to what the colleague asked about the direction of the government. You all know that the government of Uganda passed a policy on the national organic agriculture, or the national organic agriculture policy. This is because there is a strong conviction that one of the pathways for transforming Uganda's local communities, Uganda's farming systems, and improving the lives of the people is through organic agriculture. So this is one way of ensuring that there is enough knowledge and exposure of the farmers, of the champion farmers, to what is happening out there. Okay? Because, and I want to point this, that organic agriculture is very commercial in nature. It is not in any way subsistence. It uses a lot of science, integrates indigenous knowledge, but is focusing on the natural environment where the farming is taking place. And that way, you have sustainability. We don't want a situation where we are developing through agriculture at the expense of the natural resources, at the expense of the environment, at the expense of people's health. So that is why this project is coming in strongly, especially in the area of strengthening knowledge. Because knowledge is the source, that is what we're going to base on to be able to scale out organic agriculture. Thank you very much.
Do we have organized farmers, or we are ambushing everyone we find? Very good question. No, we are not ambushing everyone we find. We are organized. We work with member organizations in Uganda, and they are 64 in number. Okay, 66 to date, 66 member organizations. And these member organizations support farmers at grassroots. And so the farmers we are going to meet are organized. We are not ambushing people in their villages. We know where we are going and who we are meeting. And we know who we want to connect to who. So that is the networking that we want to create. That is the community of practice that we want to create within our organized farmers. And then the second question, you said that you see organic agriculture looks expensive. Very good choice of words. Looks what? Because that is what you said. It doesn't necessarily mean that it is expensive, because you said it looks like expensive. So you do not have evidence that is expensive. And that is the myth we want to clear from the communities. Organic agriculture is not expensive, because we have done it. The farmers we are talking about have done it, and we don't see it expensive. We only need to now create that knowledge. There is a gap. People do not know, and we want to create knowledge and, cover that gap and address the myths and misconceptions in the communities about organic agriculture. I'll tell you that if you think education is expensive, try ignorance. Don't you know this? They always say it. It's an old adage. So does it mean that education is actually expensive? The answer is no. It's actually cheaper to be educated than to be ignorant, isn't it? Yes. So this is the exact idea about organic agriculture. If you do not know, you might think it's expensive. but it's actually very cheap. Thank you very much, Julius.
And maybe just to supplement something very small. Thank you, Julius. Actually, it's the first time I've had that notion that organic agriculture is expensive. Because one, you're substituting the things that you would have bought in the shops, and now you can actually make them on your own farm, especially if you're using an integrated system. So it is not expensive. It is actually the quickest way for the most vulnerable and the most poor people to transform from peasant to commercialized agriculture, using locally available resources in a sustainable way. That is why we are pushing for organic agriculture, because we are targeting those that cannot afford what you're calling let's say the synthetic inputs, the inputs that are that are manufactured somewhere. They have to be imported. You have to buy them maybe in Kampala. You get that. Organic agriculture is, first of all, knowledge intensive. That's why he's saying knowledge is very, very important. Almost most of the things that you need in organic agriculture, you can do them if you know how. So knowledge is very, very important. And that matter, validated knowledge, scientific knowledge. So I wanted to settle that. And I think the rest has been settled by my colleague.
Question.
Very well, thank you so much for joining us yet again, Sonko.
Yes. The farmers were being sensitized on a campaign on organic agriculture through saying that everyone can greatly benefit out of the situations. Last week there was an issue of technology, how farmers need to enhance technology. Now this time around there is an issue on how farmers can use organic agriculture to boost their produce.
Very well, there you have it. So make sure you tap into such opportunities to help you improve on your produces and also agricultural techniques. But what more is coming up now is we're going to be looking at international trade and how it is faring and looking at. Let's cross to Kenya, where it is going to be accessing shillings 113 billion to the newly facility to TEM, Africa Free Trade Zone. Now, Kenya will be able to be tapping into the that is the 1 billion US dollars funded by the African Export-Import Bank and designed to negatively impact the African trade deal, trade-free zone, and also under their implementation, the adjustment fund will be expected to eventually build up to 10 billion shillings in the 10-year will be available on request of the countries, and businesses are likely to be suffering the large revenue losses following the elimination of tariffs. Now, with the implementation of African commitment trade-free zone area, Kenya is also the first country in East African region to ratify the trade deal after the National Assembly adopted it. The Pan-African Zone trade aims to bringing about 1.3 billion people together in about 3.4 trillion shillings. That's around US dollar, that's around 384 Kenyan shillings. Economic bloc that will be supporting the boosting of livelihood standards, encouraging development, and also making Africa independent on trade with other regions.
And when you look at that Kenya is trying to push for the implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. This is the same year that almost all African countries are trying to implement this, to put it in action. Even in Uganda here, the Federation of Small and Medium-Sized Enterprises did say at the beginning of the year that trainings are going to be set on board for the small and medium-sized enterprises.
Okay, and we look forward for more opportunity as a country with Kenya. What more on Kenya? And
still with the SMB across borders, and with Kenya still, the Kenya's Railway has acquired 7 passenger trains for the Nairobi-Kisumu route. And Kenya Railways has bought 7 passenger locomotives to be used between Nairobi and Kisumu as the parastatal seeks to increase frequencies to 3 on the route and extend commuter services to Butere. The company says the trains, which have been procured from China, will arrive in Kenya at the end of next month. The cost of the locomotives was not revealed, The locomotives will come as a boost to recently rehabilitated meter gauge railway that saw Kenya's railway transport become one of the fastest across the African continent. And this has seen Kenya Railways introduce a train to Kisumu once every week. As Kenya Railways regional manager for Kisumu, Michael DC Said, says that there has been an increase in demand for passengers on the route, hence the need to increase more frequencies by acquiring more locomotives. And they did acquire 7 of them.
Ngakinye tutwala speed.
Definitely. If you look at the situation that Kenya is trying as much as they can to see that they push for their transportation. Look at their infrastructure, and now there's standard gauge railway in Kenya, which shows you that most of these people, which shows you that the government of Kenya is trying as much as they can to revive and see that the economy recovers. And with transportation, they are good to go.
Yes, and even their gauge railway actually has been even there before COVID-19. Just COVID-19 was giving it more a space to make sure that, I mean, people are actually were trading even before that. And also, when you look at the recovery of economies across Africa, at least Kenya is one of the countries which has taken good Sonko, of implementing a great structure around their infrastructure. It has at least done good. It's a good planning that they have done. When you look at their gauge railway, compare it with how Uganda's gauge railway has become a song for some time now. Every year we're coming up, ministry comes out to say, okay, this year we're going to do something. This year we're in plan. This year we're still, doing agreements and, signing agreements and contracting. Sometimes it happens not to come.
And even the Uganda Railway is now facing challenges of trying to trace down people who have settled or set up industries and buildings in what seemed to be a reserve for the Uganda Railway Corporation, where the standard gauge railway of Uganda will appear or will have to pass through. So you can see that we're still in those wrangles, right?
So you're saying, could it be the reason as to why we had delays? Because there is even an argument that Mistil Hotel is in part of a route of the Uganda Railway occupation.
And even Ugandans
is it the reason?
Even Ugandans stealing the rails. So a lot is happening. Most Ugandans steal the rails every time authorities have to go and fight with these people to secure the rails back on. So in all this back forth and everything, it is creating something that is making it really hard.
But most of the Ugandan people are business-oriented people actually. I cannot see an idolism ongoing. I cannot see an idle land. And yet there is market there passing. People pass there in those railway. You see vendors sitting there because they're targeting people. They're selling their goods. They're selling their services. So you can't tell me that, you know what, Rita, do not cross on that railway or rail so that, for some time. But it has been there very idle. And to me, you can't stop me on the market until force is being implemented or until there is an actual improvement in regards to starting the work, getting done. When you start work, we have seen Ugandans who are selling near the streets of buildings of Kampala before they are constructed. And what happens when the construction begins? People, that's when they understand, like, okay, there is an activity ongoing here. I'm not going to be crossing. Let me hold and, try to find any other space. But before that, we are still going to face such challenges, I think.
Very true.
But also crossing to United States, we're also seeing 3,000 staff face job losing over the vaccination rules. Roughly about 3,000 teachers, firefighters and other New York City workers are facing a loss of their jobs. That was on Friday after failing to get vaccinated against coronavirus by the city deadline. Now, the New York City Mayor Eric Adams said that this would not change the rules despite the city facing the days of protests. Since also the procedure announced that the policy last year, more than 95% of staff have compelled. But opponents say that requirements for violating their freedom is very well on high demand. But more protests are planned for Friday, and opponents have failed in numerous legal challenges, arguing, for example, that the rules violating protection against the free practice of the religion. But though the U.S. Supreme Court last month struck down a national policy requiring the vaccination or weekly test of staff for large businesses, it has declined and also taking stances against the localized requirements. Many of the 3,000 unvaccinated have been on unpaid leave since the mandate went into effect. That was the last autumn. Roughly about 1,000 and other employees who were hired after the mandate announced that they had agreed to get their jobs, they risk losing their positions. But on Friday, if they fail to submit a proof of vaccination, jobs are meant to be lost. Wow.
Oh, some things are really tough in life.
Do you think that can happen around Africa? Let's not even look about Uganda. Let's talk about Africa first. Losing jobs, you know, getting fired at work because Sonko is not having a vaccination, or I mean has not got any vaccinations. Can that happen here?
It can happen, but if you look at how many will be affected, most of the African communities are self-employed. So it happening, it will only affect those that are still under employment.
Did you say most of the African communities are self-employed?
When you look at the setting that we have currently.
Okay.
With the fact that unemployment, if you're to look at the level of unemployment is high. When you look at the level of employment, some people have started out small businesses that can at least give them less pressure. You know, when you're at work, there is pressure attached to the work. There's always pressure. And that is where I'm saying it will only affect those that are still employed. And it will not affect the people who are, in most cases, even people who are employed have some businesses.
And especially for large businesses, large business area like big organizations, established organizations, and you know departments, that
but I think
could
most
affect.
Of the established environments here in Uganda, business environments or communities, have got their employees vaccinated, and so it can happen. It will still face a lot of
criticism, I think.
Because even in the US, it's facing criticism. There was a time also Kenya had that, saying that no one should actually attend a bar or any place without a vaccination card. So all these things have been coming through. So, but we will still wait and see. It's all done to push for the vaccination.
Okay.
To see that
Vaccination
people remain safe
campaigns.
and vaccinate. Yes.
And even when the country opened here, fully reopening, I remember when Bivulu and the entertainment sector was reopened, some two Bivulu promoters, event promoters came out to say, you know what, you're not going to come to our event without, you know, being vaccinated, without any vaccination cards. You know, some Ugandans who love entertainment, you know, they ended up going and buying, giving kintu kidogo, because even the president was highlighting about it, that I quote, you're bound to be a fool if you're investing yourself to just purchase a card at 50,000 and yet the jab is free. And where does it again leave the economy if, I mean, there is purchasing of vaccines and, you know, equipment to vaccinate the citizens at the same point, it's not being reached out. That means the citizens are not taking great advantage, really, of what government is purchasing. Very
true. And it also takes us back to where the Ugandans really are willing to go for this vaccination. When you look at the situation that we are trying to push for the mass vaccination, but then others are trying to go out there and buy vaccination cards, which is undermining the exercise. And then we have now claims coming through as well that some people haven't yet received their second jab. So all these is a very huge challenge. Not yet though. So when you look at that now, you're waiting for a second jab, vaccines are not available. Very big challenge. But summing up our SMB across borders, we travel to the east as we look at what is happening in China, as the Chinese have halted Lithuania's beef, dairy and beer. Oh, I didn't know China
What, on
I
beer?
didn't know Chinese take beer.
Give us that.
I normally thought Chinese take their local beer that we've been seeing in movies. Now, this comes after the imports amidst the Taiwan row. So China is no longer importing beer from Lithuania, dairy products like milk and beef. So when you look at this, China's administration of customs suspended exports, citing a lack of documentation. That is regarding a statement from a Lithuanian agency. The move comes after Lithuania let Taiwan open a de facto embassy there, and it may bolster a European Union case against China, alleging discriminatory practices towards a member state. And Lithuanian State Food and Veterinary Service said it has so far not received any notification from China that any information or data is missing. The agency said Chinese authorities had carried out a remote audit of Lithuania's beef and fish product exporters in 2020 as China stopped buying beef, dairy products and beer from Lithuania. The authorities say as a row deepens over the Baltic states' ties with Taiwan. So
I mean, that's a
trade
good
barriers are
one.
not only
It's an inspiration around for Uganda. If China can go ahead and, you know what, and stop, you know, their importation of beer, that means they appreciate what they have at first.
But China is known for that in most cases.
Okay.
If I think they also have their policy of buy China, build China, BC. So not the boo that we have here. So Chinese tend to first promote theirs. It is actually very hard to find a Chinese who speaks a lot of fluent English or a different language if at all they cannot master their own native language. That is why the Chinese are trying so much as they can to push for scholarships in Africa to see that even Africans learn Chinese.
Okay.
So Chinese are always about that, they have that patriotism and that drive to see that their nation is recognized among the world super economies. And yes, it is one of those that are great when it comes to the bigger statements. But it's facing a number of challenges from the European Union when it comes to discriminatory practices.
Around
Because they
trading?
say, around trade, around human, they say they have human violations. If at all you don't belong to China. There are a number of cases out there as the European countries say that China is against most of these things. Now when it also comes to the trade barriers that China is imposing on some countries, it also becomes an economic war.
Okay, and all those are allegations. They are reportedly to be impacting so many economies across the globe. But besides that, as we conclude around here, as China meanwhile is trying to promote what they sell around themselves, meanwhile other countries, most of the products are actually being imported from China to most African countries. And this is having a lesson to most of African countries that, hey, what are you doing to make sure you promote yours first? We do take a break, we do return. SMB continues with us, Rita Caravan.